We're going to try a little different format. Hopefully this will work out a little bit better. We're still in our study in Matthew chapter 5 and the Sermon on the Mount. So if you would turn to Matthew chapter 5, find yourself a Bible. We're in Matthew chapter 5, starting in verse number 38. This last week we've enjoyed drive-in services for Easter. We had a really good turnout, had about 55 to 60 cars that were there. And everybody seemed to enjoy getting out and fellowshipping a little bit with one another. And it was good to see folks, and of course a response, instead of amens, we got car horns and toots and things of that nature. So it was kind of a fun day for everyone. Please do keep in your prayers Dan Applegate. Monday he went in and again had some fluid drained from his system. About 2.4 liters of fluid were drained off, and he was able to go home Monday as well, but keep him in your prayers as well. And we also have crazy weather going on right now. This is April 15th, and it is snowing outside with snow on the ground, and so welcome to Michigan. Again, remember to use our website, factoryvillebiblechurch.com, as daily devotionals, daily updates on things, and you can find the sermons and messages there. Matthew chapter 5 through 7 is the Sermon on the Mount, and we've looked at chapter 5 verses 3 through 12, which are the Beatitudes. These are the attitudes that Christians are supposed to have, and again, Jesus is doing a contrast between the Pharisees and that stress outward appearance, and what he wants from his disciples is inward righteousness, and he's focusing on the heart. He also tells the disciples, I want you to be different and noticed. I need you to be salt and light, something that will make a difference, something that will be seen by others. He says all the commandments of God are important, not just, though, outward obedience. It has to do with the inner man as well. We've been looking at a section here in chapter 5 in regards to phrases where we look at Old Testament commandments. You've heard that it hath been said, and you've heard that it has been said, thou shalt not kill. But Jesus, with his authority, says, but I say unto you, don't be angry over a selfish cause. You've heard that it has been said, don't commit adultery. But I say unto you, don't look to lust. Don't feed that desire. And, this keeps you from adultery. Keep an eye, what your eye sees, what your hand touches, and restrain from things to keep from adultery. Don't break your oaths or promises is one of the Old Testament commandments. And Jesus says, well, don't even make an agreement where you're looking for a way out, or he's let your yes be yes, your no, no. Well, fourth principle we're going to look at now is in verse number 38. And it has to do with justice, fairness, the punishment fitting the crime. And then it also has to do with, this is the law, and it also has to do with Jesus says, we don't always have to collect. The Old Testament principles in verse number 36. You've heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And it basically is the idea of a punishment fitting the crime. This is something that God has designed, and there's a lot of Old Testament laws, especially in the book of Leviticus, that talk about this, that literally the punishment needs to fit the crime and what the punishment should be, and it keeps from greater retaliation when somebody has been wronged. And so the Old Testament principle is an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. What has been lost is what needs to be replaced. And this principle is shown for us in Exodus chapter 21. I want to share some verses with you here. In Exodus 21, it starts out, it says, if man strive and hurt a woman with child so that her fruit depart, this would be the idea that somehow this woman is hurt so that the baby that she has within her, this is a pregnant woman, the baby dies. But yet no mischief follow. It's like this was not intentional. This was a pure accident. There was no intent to harm. This was just something that accidentally took place. This man, there's still a consequence. He will be punished according to the woman's husband. He will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judge has determined. So there is a consequence, even if it's an accident, and this woman is harmed and this baby dies. Then there is still a decision. But it says, if any mischief does follow, or if it's found out later that there was intent, then he shall give life for life. This is pretty important, this idea that, the baby dies. If it was intentional harm, then the man who has done the harm, it is life for life. And here's where we see the verses again, where it says, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And there's a whole list of them here. Let's go back if we can. Okay, this eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand. I want you to think of it, and this is pretty severe if you stop and think of this type of punishment. It is, if I act in some way to cause someone to lose an eye, then it costs me an eye. If a tooth, I punch somebody in the face, they lose a tooth, well, I'm supposed to lose a tooth. Hand for hand, it's like this is talking about, if he loses the use of his hand or his hand is severed, then my hand needs to be severed. This is pretty strong stuff. This is pretty serious things. As we go on, it says, if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, or that they can no longer use that eye, then he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. The servant is no longer bound to his master. It literally is grounds for letting them go free. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth or maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for the tooth's sake. So either losing an eye, losing a tooth, they gain their freedom. And again, we see in 28 the difference between an accident and something that is negligent. If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. The idea is this is an accident. The ox did this. They killed the ox. They do not eat his flesh. The owner of the ox is not harmed. There's no punishment to him. However, the next verse, but if the ox were wont to push, or he's done this before, the ox has had this kind of behavior before, he's wont to push with his horn in pastime, and it hath been testified, the owner knows that this ox is a little bit dangerous, and he does not keep him in properly, but that he hath killed a man or a woman, this ox now shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. For knowledge, prior knowledge, and knowing that this is a dangerous animal, you do not put the animal to death, you do not put the animal down, you take the risk, and somehow you do not confine it properly, and it kills, then the owner is put to death. Even though these penalties are equal, hand for hand, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, they're still pretty severe. And they're designed to discourage bad behavior. They're designed to discourage, I don't want to kill somebody because it'll cost me my life. And so it's designed for that particular purpose. Leviticus 24 gives us some additional information. He that killeth any man shall surely be put to death. And again, there's that life for life. He that killeth a beast shall make it good, beast for beast. So now we have life for life, man for man, beast for beast. If a man cause a blemish in his neighbor, as he hath done, so shall be done to him. And so again, blemish for blemish, beast for beast, man for man. And we look at these as, these are equal offenses. This is what has been done to someone else. This is what needs to be done to you. Next. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. As he hath caused a blemish in a man, so shall it be done in him again. He that killeth a beast, he shall restore it. And he that killeth a man, he shall be put to death. The difference again between an animal and a man, you can see this. One of the reasons for capital punishment is man was created in the image of God. You kill a beast, then there's money or monetary payment or replace the beast. You kill a man, it can't be replaced. It's life for life. Verse number 22 says, ye shall have one manner of law. The rules are always the same, as well as for the stranger, as for one of your own country, for I am the Lord your God. The rules are the same for everybody. There's not separate rules for our people versus other people. These are the rules for everyone, and the law is the same. One more passage I want you to see in Deuteronomy chapter number 19. If a false witness rise up against a man to testify against him, that which is wrong. And basically somebody is accusing someone else, but it's a false witness. Then both the men, between whom the controversy is, shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days. There'll be a trial, and there'll be a discernment in regards to what happens. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. The passage here talks about the fact that if a man is lying about somebody else to get them in trouble, whatever that punishment was going to be is now going to be his punishment for lying. A similar case might be the story of Mordecai and Haman. As Haman sought and built a gallows for Mordecai to put him to death, it kind of backfired on him, and Haman gets hung on his own gallows from the book of Esther. But here's an idea: if I'm bearing false witness to get someone else in trouble, whatever that trouble would be, if it's I've accused them of murder and they didn't do it, then it's my life that is on the line. False witness gets the punishment that was intended for the victim of their lies, so people will hear and fear. And basically the idea is they'll think twice before they lie. Now, the last verse, verse 21, also mentioned the idea of, I shall have no pity. I don't know if you go back. Yeah, there it is. And I shall have no pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. This is talking about in the determining of this justice. You may not want to do so, but this is the consequence. And again, though, it is important to understand that what he's talking about in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, these were instructions to government authorities, to ruling bodies, and he basically tells them to have no pity. No retaliation beyond the offense, and these are guidelines for government. Instead, and now what we're looking at as we continue in our passage, instead of an attitude of equal payback, Jesus is asking, when he says in verse number 39, but I say unto you, you've heard that it hath been said in 38, but I say unto you, he is now asking for an attitude of forgiveness and a heart of forgiveness. Even though government-wise, these are guidelines to use to judge people, he now says on an individual basis, but I say unto you, resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. If a man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him 2. He says, first of all, resist not evil. It literally has the idea of, I do not have to return evil for evil. I don't have to do this. I don't have to answer in kind. Someone has harmed me in some way, I don't have to. They've harmed my hand that I no longer can use it. I don't have to retaliate. Government-wise, these people, these are guidelines for them to use in making decisions and making judgments. But on an individual basis, I don't have to retaliate. I don't have to fight back. I don't have to get equal treatment. I don't have to fight back evil with evil. One of the things that as I looked at this passage, one of the things that I thought of that made a lot of sense to me is, and I saw this once upon a time, that they were having a duel. And back in the day when they would have the pistols and the back-to-back and 10 paces turn and shoot each other type of duels. And these two men were having a duel, and were going to settle it on the field of honor, and they did their 10 paces and turned, and the one man took aim and shot and missed. And now by the rules, this other man had to stand there while the other guy had his one shot. You shot at me, and you missed. Now I have one shot at you. And the man took aim, and then raised his gun and shot into the air, intentionally missing the other guy. Even though I have the right to shoot at you, you shot at me, I have the right to shoot at you and mortally wound you. I choose not to do it. He missed intentionally. And so this resist not evil means I don't have to resort in kind to what has been done to me. I can turn the other cheek. That's the next part here, where it says, end of verse number 39, Whosoever shall smite thee in the right cheek, turn to him the other as well. This literally is kind of the idea of allowing the person to wrong you again. And it's like, wow, it almost doesn't make sense. Except for a story that I heard one time. There's a man was out on his porch, and the neighbor woman walked out to get the mail, and she fell over on the sidewalk. She fell to the ground and grasping her chest, and he ran over to her and tried to help her and assist her, and quickly he called 911. They got an ambulance that came, and basically they got there in time, and the ambulance worker said, boy, because of your quick action and your quick response, we were able to save this woman's life. Well, later, a bill came for the ambulance. And the woman said, I'm not paying the bill. I didn't call the ambulance. And the neighbor is the one who called the ambulance. And said, well, you called the ambulance. You're responsible for the bill. Well, that doesn't seem right on any level. But the question is, what happens the next time the woman falls on the sidewalk and grabs her heart? It's like, okay, well, last time I did this, this cost me. I don't think I'm going to help her this time. No. The idea of turning the other cheek, if it's right, it's right. If it was right the first time, it's right the second time. If it's right, it's right. Romans tells us this: recompense to no man evil for evil, provide things honest in the sight of all men. We do not have to pay back evil for evil. I do not have to respond this way. If it is possible, as much as lies within you, live peaceably with all men. Verse 19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves. We do not have to do this, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Even if you have the right to do so, it's eye for an eye, it's tooth for tooth. I have a right to avenge myself. Choose not to. Jesus is asking us to choose not to do so. Therefore, if thy enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirsts, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but you overcome evil with good. 1 Peter actually addresses this as well. 1 Peter chapter number 2. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear. Not just to the good ones and the gentle ones, but also to the froward. Be subject even to the ones who are not so nice, and those who are crooked and perverse. For this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience toward God endure grief, suffering wrongfully. For what glory is it, if when you be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently? But if when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable to God. God talks about that when I'm doing what's right, and it costs me, and I take it patiently, this is acceptable in God's sight. For even hereunto we are called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that we should follow in his steps. Jesus did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who, when he was reviled means things were said to him with the intention of hurting, he spoke not back, he reviled not again. And when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously. Jesus is our example. To resist not evil means I don't have to fight back. I don't have to return evil for evil. I can allow the evil person to wrong me again. If I'm doing what's right, keep doing what's right. And finally it says, it's only stuff. Verse number 40. If a man sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. Your testimony is more important. Should we let other people take advantage of us? No. But if you're suffering for good behavior, keep doing what is right. And you look, can I use this circumstance as a testimony? 1 Corinthians 6 talks to us about the idea, rather than go to court and damage testimony and an opportunity to witness to this person, if you've been wronged, just take the loss. Go the extra mile. Verse number 41. Whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him 2. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow thee, turn thou not away. Go the extra mile. The first mile was their choice. They did something, you were forced to go along. The second mile is your choice. Going out of your way to help and assist those who may not deserve it. Another example might be this person pulled in front of me, they took my parking space. They took my space. You come out from the store to find that they have a flat tire. And you go, good for them. Or you go the extra mile and you help them change the tire. You know, looking for opportunities, going out of your way to help and assist those who may not deserve it. Then he says, give and forgive. And a definition of forgiveness, again, best definition I've ever heard of forgiveness is choosing not to collect a debt. Something that is owed to me, I choose not to collect. Instead of taking what is due, give. And the final thing, as we summarize all this together, you have heard that it has been said that an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, you don't have to. On an individual basis, you don't have to retaliate evil for evil. Jesus went out of his way to help and assist those who don't deserve it. And he's asking us to do the same thing.